Hello everyone, and welcome to the final scenario in the Saladin campaign. This is probably one of the more famous scenarios in Age of Empires. It's called The Lion and the Demon, and I think it's famous for a reputation of being kind of hard. Although, I did not find the scenario to be nearly as hard as the last scenario that I played, which was Jihad, which I did make a video on as well if you want to check that out. But anyway, in this scenario you have to build a wonder and defend it. And apparently there's about six, I believe, enemies, 5 or 6 enemies that will attack you. One of them will attack from the sea, and all the rest will attack from land with a mixture of siege weapons and their choice of ground forces. And since there are so many enemies, it does present a bit of a challenge. I found the scenario to be rather easy, and the enemy never really got in my base, although they did get pretty close on one chance, because basically the Saracens have one of the most overpowered units in the game, which is the Mameluke, which are really good at taking out pretty much everything that the enemy can throw at you once massed. And that was my strategy for this scenario. I built the wonder almost immediately. You can see where I placed it with my villagers. And one thing you got to watch out for is the cannon galleons, because they can destroy your towers from the sea. And as long as you take out the enemy's siege weapons, that's really all you have to worry about. I would say the Franks and Jerusalem are probably the most annoying. The Franks send a lot of bombard cannons at you, which are by far the most annoying siege weapons to destroy. And Jerusalem sends a lot of trebuchets. You also got to look out for Richard, which is the Red Britain player, because he has 2 special trebuchets which do a lot of damage. But they didn't come at me until the very end of the scenario, when I pretty much had the scenario won anyway, so it didn't matter all that much. The Knights Templar will send a lot of paladins at you, which can be a bit of a hassle, although if you have enough Mamelukes, they will cut down the paladins rather easily. I would highly recommend getting all the stable upgrades and the elite Mameluke upgrade as soon as possible. You can also get the Saracen unique technology, which boosts Mameluke hit points by, I believe it's plus 30 or plus 50, something like that. It is pretty pricey, but it can help your Mamelukes stay alive a little bit longer. Also, you want to have a lot of villagers on stone, and build as many castles as possible around your base to make sure it keeps from being destroyed. One thing that is pretty good about this mission is, even if you do fail, it is a very fast mission. I completed it in about 15 minutes. That's how long it takes to build the wonder and have the timer go down. I believe it took about 7 minutes to build the wonder. I didn't have an awful lot of villagers on it. I definitely could have put more. And then around 8 to 10 minutes to actually have the wonder timer go down. The wonder timer has just started, as you can see, and my wonder is completed, which was pretty nice. It did not take that long to build, even though I only had about, I don't know, 7 villagers or so on it. And I'm just placing castles a little bit inside the walls of my base. As long as you take out those trebuchets and bombard cannons with your Mamelukes, your castles will do really good work on mopping up all of the ground forces. Even though all the enemies have fully upgraded Imperial Age units, you can get the Bracer upgrade at your blacksmith, which will help out your castle's attack and range a little bit. The Franks' bombard cannons were by far the biggest pain in my side during this entire scenario. I thought the Genoese, which will send ships at you, would be a bigger pain, because I was concentrating more on the ground attacks, and I was just kind of saying, you know, if the Genoese decide to go at me with a whole bunch of cannon galleons, there's not really a whole lot I could do about it, because I had so many Mamelukes that I was at the population limit. And since Mamelukes are rather expensive and such a good unit, I really was not going to delete them. Also, the Persians, which is just a very small, not very high score civilization, will send a couple war elephants to aid you in battle. I did not find them to be too useful. However, if you're having a bit more difficulty with this scenario, or playing on a higher difficulty level or anything, then those war elephants can definitely come in handy. They do have a ton of hit points because they are elite war elephants, and they can take a lot of damage, which is really nice. I found the Britain Richard player sent a ton of siege weapons. Not as many trebuchets. He sent a ton of scorpions and capped rams, which are much easier to deal with than trebuchets, so I was a bit grateful for that. Although he did send a few trebuchets as well, it was mostly the scorpions and capped rams. I believe he sent an onager or 2 as well. I'm not completely sure about that, but there's probably a few mixed in here. And here's a very large trebuchet attack. This one got me a bit scared. I think they destroyed a section of my wall and a couple towers in this attack, and the onager took out a lot of my Mamelukes. So, luckily for me, the Britons just decided to send only siege. They've mixed in a longbowman or 2 every once in a while, but for the most part it was only siege. So, siege undefended is very easy to take care of. I don't think that was a very wise decision on the choice of the Britain player, but it was pretty good for me, because I was able to just destroy the siege rather easily. I was able to pretty much clean up all the forces very easily with the Mamelukes. The only thing that even could have stopped the Mamelukes is Jerusalem will make heavy camels, which are much better against Mamelukes than really any other unit that the enemy will send at you. However, there just wasn't enough heavy camels from Jerusalem to counter my Mamelukes, and they were able to destroy everything quite easily. Here, Richard is just sending in some trebuchets piecemeal and a ram just all by itself, which is really never a good idea because that will get destroyed easily. And those are my war elephants there. I think this is really the only action they got the entire scenario. They didn't really do a whole lot. They might have destroyed a ram or two that got towards my wall. But as you can see, for the most part, my fortifications are pretty good and holding up really well, and the wonder counter is nearing its end, so I have just about won this scenario. My second force of Mamelukes gets almost destroyed there, so I have to send in some reinforcements. I just set all my gather points just outside the wall, just in case those Franks sent some bombard cannons at me and I was busy dealing with the British or Jerusalem. Then my Mamelukes over at the gather points would be able to take out the bombard cannons rather easily. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching as this scenario is almost over, and these do take quite a bit of time to make and edit, so if you would please like the video or even subscribe if you really enjoyed the content, but no one's forcing you to. So anyway, this was the final scenario in Saladin, and I will move on to the Mongol scenarios tomorrow. That is all. Thanks for watching, and farewell.